Hey everyone, I'm going to talk you through my bike and gear setup that I used in my first ever Vapor Trail 125 race that helped me set a women's course record of 15 hours and 8 minutes. The Vapor Trail race is 125 miles with about 16,800 feet of elevation gain and loss in the Colorado Rockies, spanning up to 12,500 feet on either rugged Jeep road and with technical single track descents that often come in the 3,000 to 4,000 foot at a time realm. It also starts at 10 p.m. and is in September, so we race 8.5 hours through the night and then finish the next day, either in daylight or the following evening. And temperatures can be quite cold, and for us this year, we had a forecast that included snow and a likelihood of showers overnight and quite cold temperatures. So this setup was designed to be my high mountain race bike, and it worked out really well. So I rode my Pivot Cycles Mach 4 SL in extra small size frame. With it, I had a Fox 34 SL fork on here at 130 millimeters of travel. I've since swapped it out back to the 120 step cast. Both would be ideal for this course. In the rear suspension, I had my flip chip set at plus, so it has 115 millimeters of rear travel, and I have 3 lockout positions on this lever. My wheels are Industry 9 ultralight rims on Solix XC hubs in a rainbow color pattern with inserts, and I have I ran Recon Maxxis Recon Race 2.4 WT tires in the EXO trail casing in the front and rear. With the insert, I just added about 1 extra PSI than normal for the rough terrain. It's quite rocky and riding at night. And so I ran 21 in the back, 19 in the front with the temperatures and my rider and gear weight calculated into that using the Wolf-Tooth tire pressure app. A couple things that were unique about this setup for this race specifically. Of course, I had my Shimano XTR brakes. I did have 180 rotors in the front and back for brakes for all the braking power in those big descents. In my drivetrain, I had my normal 165 XTR cranks with 4i power meter, but on them I had a 28 tooth chainring to be able to ride as much as possible and minimize the hike-a-bike or just like grinding up long steep climbs at altitude. And then in the back, the standard Shimano 1051 12-speed cassette, and I ran Shimano XT Di2 shifting for the first time in a race this year, and I just needed 1 battery. I was confident going into that. So for contact points, this is one of the most important parts of ultras, including mountain bike ultras, where the terrain can be quite abusive. I ran Ergon GA3 grips, and I didn't have a single hand numbness or sore hands even by the end of descending nearly 17,000 feet on rough trails. So pretty pumped about that. Use the saddle I use on every single bike on every single ride, which is the Ergon SR Women's Pro saddle. And then for my pedals, contrary to maybe your standard cross-country race bike, I put on the XTR SPD trail pedals, which was specifically kind of intentionally chosen in order to have a secure platform for my foot at night and in the event that my shoes and cleats got gunked up with mud or snow. I was really happy about that decision. As far as kind of gear on the bike, I ran a Revelate prototype top tube bag, which is more capacity than I needed for food in between aid stations, but I was able to fit my rain jacket and some layers in here, which was very accessible, and it meant I could layer and delayer without getting off my bike or taking my pack off. And then down in the Revelate Stout on the down tube, I had my little repair kit and InReach. In the cockpit, I have my Koros Dura, which only is like 15% of the battery, which is remarkable given there wasn't any sun until the very end, and my Phoenix BC26R handlebar light with just one battery that I ran on medium on climbs and high on descents, and I only used about 70% of the battery through those 8.5 hours, which is pretty confidence inspiring. And now I'll take you through all the gear that I carried in these different places. All right, so all the gear that I carried or wore is laid out. Starting with the gear itself that was on my bike. Down in the Stout, I had a little backcountry repair kit. There's about 5 hours in between aid stations, some of which were really remote parts of the mountains, and so I wanted to be able to fix any probable mechanical. So I have a tube, I have a tire lever, I have a chain tool in here, I have a spare cleat, a spare valve core, and a tire boot, and then also a small pro multi-tool that works with that chain tool. And then I had my wolf tooth pump with a plug tool in it and a bunch of plugs, and another small plug tool to have handy. I also had a CO2 for quick inflation. And then I carried a tiny thing of chain lube, given how many creek crossings and potential for rain there was. For my body, I just had chapstick and some chamois cream. And I had sunscreen at aid station 3 to put on when the sun came up. And then also in my Stout, I had an inReach. I didn't carry a phone. I wanted to be able to get help in any location if I needed it. And then on my body, I rode in Rafa bibs that I cut the chamois out of. They have a drop seat so I can pee in them, or not pee in them, but wear them. And then a Rafa crop top jersey that has pockets in the back so I could put gels in there if I needed that. And then given it started at night, I started with Patagonia Dirtcraft ride pants, and I actually kept those on for the whole race because of the temperatures and just how comfortable I was. And I wore a Patagonia Airshed pullover for most of the race as well, which just blocks a bit of wind and added that bit of insulation. I had a Rafa really, really lightweight Gore-Tex rain jacket that was in that Revelate top tube bag the whole race, except for when I put it on for descents. And then given the forecast, I started the night with quite a bit of other warm layers ready for nighttime storms in the mountains. So I had a pair of Patagonia's old Houdini rain pants that are pretty water resistant at this point in their life. A pair of 45 North liner winter gloves. Those are the only gloves that I was really riding in at night. I did carry in between aid 1 and 2, aid 1 and 3, a Patagonia Micro Puff synthetic jacket. I didn't end up wearing it, but I was glad I had it. And I brought a pair of Black Diamond soft shell gloves for the descent from 12,500 feet, which I did wear and was very happy to have. That was kind of the night kit, and I got rid of all that stuff at aid station 3, including my Shimano glasses with clear lenses. Those I wore all night and then ditched at sunrise. Could have just swapped the lenses, but I'm lucky enough to 2 frames, and so I just put these on for the daytime with the Ridescape off-road lens. On my back, I wore a Patagonia Slope Runner hydration vest with a 1.5 liter bladder. That's what I relied on for drinking through the night when it's just easier to keep your hands on your handlebars and get calories mostly through liquid. And I'd swap these through the 2 aid stations to have a fresh bladder and transition from day to night. And in that, I had my gels all stashed and other food for that section of the race. I also was able to put layers and gloves in these back pockets. During the day, I swapped to Ergon ride gloves. And then, of note, shoes and headlamp and helmet. Although it's technically more like a cross-country bike race, it is so much in the backcountry with enough hike-a-bike and on and off and technical riding and at night that I wore the new Shimano GE 900 HS shoe, which is my favorite trail shoe. It's really stiff and hikes really comfortably. And part of the factor in this decision is that knowing that at night, if you put a foot down, you can't necessarily see where you're putting your foot down. This is a much more stable sole for catching your body. And then on my laser helmet, I ran my Phoenix HM65R headlight, and that light I carried 2 batteries for in order to run it on medium on climbs, high on technical climbs, and high on descents. And I swapped this with just a few more hours of darkness to go, which would give me enough battery to finish in the nighttime if I needed to the next day. And that is everything that I carried and wore for the Vapor Trail race. And I'm planning on going back next year, and other than adjusting clothing based on the forecast, I wouldn't change a thing.